But sometimes I listen, and I said, well, it's very good. It says, see, this is very good. And this is what David HaMelech tells the Jewish people. You know, you're coming to prayers. You're going in out the same way you came in. Elebcha. No feeling like a stone. Try to do something about it. Try to taste it. How are you going to taste the tefillah? It's impossible. You want to taste the tefillah? Start to pray to Hashem. Start to ask him, Hashem, I want to freely pray to you. I just don't want to say words. I want to have kavanah. I want to have some concentration. I'm going to learn what the first berachah and the amidah means, so I can think what it's saying and think of what it has to do with my life, and not think I'm doing favor to Hashem by praying, but understand that my whole life and existence is dependent upon this. Life, or the opposite, is dependent upon my prayer. How can I not? I'm begging for my blood. I'm begging for my life. Ta'amu ki tov Hashem. Chama Ovadia tasted the taste, and boy, did he like the taste. We can also get it if we're interested. We need to be interested. We need to want it. We need to ask for it. Ma'asav merubim mechokhmato. Just one more point. The actions were greater than his wisdom. His wisdom was vast. How could it be that his actions could be greater than his wisdom? Who could fathom the knowledge that he had? Who could fathom? One teshuvah you read, your head is spinning already. But yet it says in Pirkei Avot, Ma'asav merubim mechokhmato, when a person's actions are more numerous than his wisdom, then his wisdom is established and correct and fine and dandy. Rabbeinu Yonah Genondi, which I believe tonight may be his Yom HaShanah, says in Pirkei Avot an amazing thing. He says the only way this could really be is if a person agrees in his mind to accept whatever that he's going to learn in the future, whatever the Hachamim say, and I figure out what they mean, I'm going to do it in the future. I'm not going to turn right, I'm not going to turn left, I'm going to do exactly what the Hachamim say. You make it Kabbalah from now, that whatever they're going to say, I'm going to do, even if I don't know it yet, it's considered as if I did it. Otherwise, if you don't know the law, how could you do it? How can you have actions more than your wisdom? If you don't know the laws of Mayim HaHaramim, how can you fulfill it? The answer is, even though if I don't know it now, I accept upon myself to do it. It's like I did it. Chama Ovadiah's whole life was finding out, what does Hashem want from me? What is the bottom line halakha? He knew the Gemara, he knew the Rishonim, he knew the Aharonim. He was not satisfied until he came to practical halakha. What is the bottom line of what Hashem wants me to do? Ma'asav merubim mechokhmato, and he accepted b'chol lev to himself and the whole Klal Yisrael that whatever Hashem wants, I'm going to do. I just got to find out what Hashem wants, and he spent every day of his life trying to find out exactly what Hashem wants in the halakha. And he stressed very much the learning of halakha. This also we could follow. He was a great luminary. He was saying the Hiddushim and how to get. Well, we could learn halakha. We could learn Yalkut Yosef. We could learn Shulchan Aruch. We could learn those things that are bringing us closer to doing Hashem's will. You can't fulfill Hashem's will if you don't know what it is. Laws of Shabbat. Yeah, I heard from my grandmother once that this is allowed, this is not allowed. All baloney. The only way you're going to know what to do is by learning halakha. Who should learn halakha? Rabbis, right? No. Men, women, and children have to learn halakha. Everybody has to learn the halachot that pertain to them. And we can. And if we will get this inspiration that Chama Ovadia wanted to do what Hashem wants, we also do, we will stress practical halakha. Last but not least, Chama Ovadia loved the Jewish people immensely. He loved them so much, he took out time from everything he loved so much and was tasting such a delicious taste of Torah. He ripped himself away from that for the good of the Jewish people. He took the Sephardim in Eretz Yisrael, who are at the lowest ebb. And he said, this cannot be. And did even he know at that time how he's going to do it? But he did it with the power of Torah. He brought a whole generation of Sfaradim from the doldrums, from not feeling good about themselves, to a tremendous pride in their heritage, pride in their halachot, pride in their ability to believe in themselves. What's so good about believing in yourself? Isn't that ga'ava, arrogance? No, it's not. Everyone has to believe in themselves. Everyone has to believe the kindness of Hashem is so great that even somebody like me, Hashem is interested in. And this message, Hacham Ovadia, got out to the public. He got out to the Sephardic public. You know, not only you know less than everyone else, you have a tremendous heritage and a tremendous amount to be proud of. He picked them up, and he picked them up with halakha. He picked them up with Torah. He says, you guys learn this halakha, follow these halachot, follow your minhagim, you're going to see. And like Rabbi Nahum said at the last Arayah, Elam Ayan, 50,000 students. This is a dreamer. Where does he start with? He starts with a class with 3, 4, 5 kids. That's going to be, what's going to be with it? Chacham Ovadia believed that if you want, and you open your mouth, it's written in the Gemara. He believed in the Gemara. He lived the Gemara. He opened his mouth wide. He asked Hashem. He had the will. And he accomplished. May his zechut be a benefit for us to learn these great midot and apply it practically in our life, to have the will to get closer to Hashem, to taste the taste of Torah, to taste the taste of mitzvot, and by begging Hashem that he helps us with this, we will be zocher, that we will see the ahdut of all the Jewish people, Sfaradim and Ashkenazim without mahloket, which will bring about Mashiach Tzidkenu b'mirat yameinu. Amen. Baruch. When I mentioned when somebody studied Torah diligently, the Torah showered him with favor and charm and grace. As the Gemara said in Hagigah, Yechid Bet, Yoram Yisaveh Adonai Chasdo, Ubalala Shiro Ammi. When somebody studied Torah through the night, next day in the morning has special charm in his face. That charm, even the Goyim was influenced, was impressed. I'll share with you, true story is not really exposed yet. 1989, Chacham Ovadia Yosef traveled to Cairo. Was invited personally by Hosni Mubarak, the president of Egypt. Chacham Ovadia went specifically to save 2 prisoners were sentenced lifetime. Chacham Ovadia pleaded to the president to free him, and the president agreed. When the official talk is over, Hosni Mubarak asked everybody to leave the room. He wants to stay with the rabbi alone. When everybody left the room, the president turned to the rabbi and told him, Hacham, I know you, very holy rabbi, and I believe tremendously in your blessings. He bent his head and asked Chacham Ovadia to give him beracha. And Chacham Ovadia gave him beracha. And he was president for 30 years in the office. That's a true story. Another story that dawned, 1973, after Kippur War, left behind many widows, and this problem of agonot
the most complicated halakha, how to release this widow to give her the permission to remarry. The chief of the army at that time, Gad Navon, had difficulty to deal with that issue. Many Chachamim and Dayanim refused to take responsibility. At that time, Moshe Dayan turned to Golda Meir. I told her, we'll go together to Chacham Ovadia Yosef, and we ask him, he's only one should handle those cases. And she asked him, why you think Chacham Ovadia Yosef? He just took the office. Moshe Dayan was smart. He told her, if Chacham Ovadia said this woman allowed to remarry, nobody dared to open his mouth. Would be case closed. And they did. They went to Chacham Ovadia Yosef and they asked him to handle those cases. And he said in his book in that language, Ani hageber ra'a'oni. I'm the one suffering more than anybody. That 6 months, he doesn't know what it means to sleep. Was up 6 months. And one true story, tried to find solution for one widow. 2-3 days, no clue, no access to find any loop. That night came to him in the dream, the Chacham Sabi. Shelo Tshuvot Chacham Sabi, that the son of the Yabes, Yaakov Rebbe Avali. He told him, go to my books. I told him who you are. Say, I am Chacham Sabi. Go to my book, in my library, in your library, and open that question. That's a man, I give him the exact, and over there you find the access to your answer. He woke up immediately, went to his library, pulled out the book, Chacham Sabi, and sat down through the night to write the Heter for that. He has so much love to every Jew, Ahabat Israel. And he has the man the zechut to bring 1,000 or million people to do Teshuvah. I got the shore and asked Rabbi Michael Malka, the rabbi of Elberon Station, the synagogue of Elberon, Torah Center, Chabad.
Shud Marad Atra, rabbis, my experience was small with Chacham Ovadia Yosef, but one impact that gave me, I'd like to share with you. I studied in Colel in Mexico under Chacham David Shweka, the brother of Chacham Shmuel, who is denoted as Jose in Mexico. Chacham Ovadia Yosef was invited to give us a shiur. And we told him this is a kolel, we study halakha, and he said, I'm going to prepare you a shiur. We didn't have enough avrechim that would be kabbalah for the rabbi. We were only 10 at the time. So the Rosh Kolel said, let's invite the Bnei Yeshiva, let the yeshiva boys come, tell them to wear the hat, the jacket, make them look a little older, and then we can fill up the kolel. So they were invited, they all came. Gambadir came, he sat down, he looks, he tells Chacham David, I prepared you a shiur in Hilchot Taharat HaMishpacha. I thought this was kolel. I see you have kolel and you have Geda'im, you have the small young sheep. So therefore we will say Hilchot Muktzeh. Now you're ready Masechet Betzah, and he started. Ita b'Gemara Daf Daled Amud Bet. I had the Gemara there. I wanted to see it is called word for word. It was quoted. But what struck me was one of the first rules when I came to Deal Shul, and I heard something about public speaking. Mr. Hurdle Tower gave me a good. He said, you know, the first thing you have to know your crowd. And here Chacham Ovadia Yosef was speaking to young boys. He was speaking to Avrechim. he was speaking to the Rosh Kolel. We had the Rosh Hashiva also that came over, and everyone came out of that shiur baffled. For the young boys, I remember, since the Gemara and the Tzad talks about Kohad Hetera Hadith, he gave the story. You know what it means, Kohad Hetera Hadith? You know why it's always good to find the lenient when it's clear in halakha? Now that does not mean that you never have to be mahmir. Khamwajah writes many times in his books, someone who is mahmir, tabu ala barakah, you want to follow the stringent opinion, tabu ala barakah, but you have to know what's the ikar, what is halakha. And he started with the story. There was once a shohet who had questions, and he used to come to the rabbi, and the rabbi was not so familiar with the laws, but the rabbi was scared for his kehillah, so he told him, when we don't know, then there will be mahmir. So he's mahmir, and every time the shohet, he would lose money. Meanwhile, this shohet, he meets his friend, who was a total ignoramus, and he told him, you know what I do when I have questions with meat? The Pasuk says you have terefa, so I follow the Torah. I throw the meat to the dogs. If the dog eats it, it's terefa, so the Pasuk called it. If not, not. So the guy said, I'll follow your example. And he's 1 day, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, he comes back to the rabbi. He says, Rabbi, the rabbi tells him, where were you all these 3 weeks? You had no questions? He says, I'll tell you, the dog was more than mahmir than you. But what's the idea? So like this, I saw how he caught the young. And then, during the shiur, there were those that like to, like we say, they like to hak, they like to get in. He said a sevara, right away, yesh lahaleh. He saw those that were cutting in, he had a sharp line for everyone. Hilul and bilul. He's quoting Gemara, Pesachim, he's quoting all over the place. But then afterwards, there was like an intermission for a couple of minutes, and it was a question between Rabbi Akiva Eiger that asked a very strong question on the levush. And Khamwajah was going with the halakha, not like the levush. And Rosh Kolel, Chacham David, he says, during the intermission, and there Khamwajah listens, and he's following. He says, this Sevara I saw, I wrote about it, but I'm not going with that halakha. And Chacham David was, and they were discussing it. And here I saw, we were prepared to hear a shiur, and we saw when the young kids were coming, we said, okay, it's going to be one of these, maybe like a story shiur, be like nice, entertaining. We wanted to hear depth. We heard depth, we heard omek, we heard, everyone was baffled. The young, the old, the Rashi Kolel, Chacham David elaborated on the shiur afterwards, telling us the depth that was going on in that shiur. Another great point Khamwajah had is like the Chachamim said, his love for Klal Yisrael. I heard from one of the Maskidim that spoke in Israel that there was once somebody that was living in Ashdod, and he had his home right next to the big dance club. And the night, Friday night on Shabbat, people, they're playing the music, the young kids are dancing, boys and girls, they're dancing together. It bothered him a lot. Then one night he hears, all of a sudden it's quiet, and the guy gets up on the thing, he stops the music, he says, friends, the great Rabbi Ovadia Yosef is sick. We're going to say a prayer, everybody answer Amen. This went on Friday night. The guy's listening, he can't believe his ears. But it's not a question. Chacham Ovadia Yosef's love touched everybody. Not only did it touch Bnei Yeshiva, it touched the people that were out, people that were far out, and they felt that connection to him. Chacham Nahum mentioned how he was so strong in being matir of the cases of Agunah. I heard one of the Masfidim, they said that Chacham Ovadia, he had to do a heart stent, heart operation, and it was a serious operation that he had to do. He told the doctors, I need a few hours to go. They told him, not everything is set up. We have the operating table, the big doctor came, the heart surgeon. The last person you want to push off is the heart surgeon, an Israeli heart surgeon. He'll get mad, he's going to leave. He said, no, I have something very important. He says, what is that? I have a case of Agunah. And I took the responsibility to fear, I need 3 hours to write this Teshuvah. if I don't wake up from this operation, what will happen to her? The Kakava, they waited a few hours, he wrote, and then they came back. What motivated him? Motivated him was his vast knowledge of Torah, his great love for Bnei Israel. The Gemara, Baba Batra, says, Darash Rabbi Pinhas ben Hammad. It says by David HaMelech, Vahi Ishachad David im Abotav, V'chi met Yoav Sarazah. The Gemara asks, why by David HaMelech does the Pasuk use the term Shekiva? He's lying down. He went to lie down with his forefathers. With Yoav, the Pasuk uses the term Met. And the Gemara answers, David HaMelech that had a son, that left over a son, Hara'ui Malchut, it says Shekiva. Yoav, who was not fortunate to have that berakah that his son followed in his way, it says on him Mitah. Moshe Rabbeinu's own bakasha was that his son should go ahead and follow, should be the leader of Bnei Israel. But Olam said, no, it's Yeshua who has to take over. Baruch Hashem, we're happy, Chama Ovadia Yosef, that not only are we all his Talmidim, V'shinatan lebanecha, that's also the Talmidim, but he left over his son's great Hachamim, but he saw his son becoming Ra'ui L'Malchut, also to be the Rishon LeTzion, following exactly his footsteps. This is a great beracha thing. Zrat Hashem Yeh Nishmato Tzerura B'Tzora Hayim, and his light should come on us. Amen.
Rabbi Malka mentioned Kohad Hekera, the power of leniency, wrote down the Gemara B'Tzad Bet. I will share with you one question specifically regarding that power that creates tremendous opposition against the rabbi. Don't think the rabbi has it easy, absolutely not. He had many opponents at that time. But people forgot the background. This question came down in Habidat, the second volume, Siman Samech Bet. The question was, at that time, during Pesach 1973, was a big, huge company called Carmel Mizrahi. And they find out one of the ingredients of the Carmel preservative, there is citric acid made from alcohol from grain. And the rabbi has to deal with that question, how to resolve the problem, how the wine will be kosher for Pesach. The company was at that time worth a lot of money, millions of dollars. It was the only company, I believe, in Israel in those days. Until today, but they're not number one. They call it Humsat Limon. And that Humsat Limon was a lot of grain. And how we go around this halakha? And the rabbi worked very hard to analyze first the ingredient specifically. And he came with the psak, although that item called the Davar Ma'amid, which is normally lo batil, even the elif, he says that this ingredient really processed and turned into powder, that even the dough will not eat that powder. And he's saying also the other ingredients also combine together to preserve the wine. And since this item was done before Pesach and batel before Pesach, and he followed the halakha Shulchan Aruch Siman Daf Mem Zayin, that will come to Hoser B'Ne'or, Maran, and also Harama will come to liquid believe in a Hoser B'Ne'or. And it was matir, that wine. And Melech was against him. But they forgot one halakha, one item that I know for sure, because I was very close to the rabbi. He told me not only really his one material. He said with 5 big Hakamim in Israel, and they sign and they agree with him. One of them was Rabbi Eliashib, the biggest authority in the halakha. Rabbi Shaul Israeli, member of the High Supreme Court. Rabbi Goldschmidt, also member of the High Supreme Court. Rabbi Israel Jolting, Chief Rabbi of Yerushalayim. He told me not only I did the heter, the other 5 Hakamim also agreed with me to be material. So he sees power over here to find a way. On the other hand, when Kant himself was very mahmir. For example, when his wife passed away, there is halakha of onen. Onen meaning the time of passing away until the burial called onen. And the man is exempt from tefillah, tefillin, and berachot. So his family said to us that really that day he didn't eat, he didn't drink, he didn't touch anything. So they asked him, the halakha is mutar. He said, yes, the halakha is mutar. I don't eat anything. He didn't eat anything, he didn't touch anything, in order to not eat without beracha. Was very mahmir on himself. Again, Chacham Ovadia, he brought the crown of the Torah to Sfaradim, lift up the entire Sfaradim. The fact in his funeral, 850,000 people attend, the biggest ever in the history, that shows his diligence to the Torah and Ahavat Israel. Be'ezrat Hashem Zekuto stand for us, for all Israel. Amen ve'amen. This time I ask Rabbi Farhid come for Hashkara.
והחכמה מהית ומעשה ואיזה מקום בינה אשרי אדם עשה חכמה ואדם יחיד תבונה מרדתו בך אשר ספנת לרעך פעלת לחוסים בך נגד בני אדם מהפך חסדך אלוהים ובני אדם בסר כנפיך יחיסיון ירביון מדי שם ביתך ונחל אדניך תשכם טוב שם שמן טוב ויום בניהו ובלדו So the Barakon Ishmael Tony Miran Zotav Shemor Kizekula Damian Zo Hasidim Mechavod Raninon Shkivotam Minuhan Echona Bishiva Aliyona Tahat Kanfel Shechina Amanat Kedoshim Utorim Kizoar Kiamirim Azirim Behdus Hasamim Chapar Dashamim Bahartat Bejav Akrabat Yesha Behmla Bahanina B'Knes Ushukhin Meuna וחולקת עבר לחיי העולם הבא, שם תהא מן המחיצה בישיבת הנפש השם הטוב, חם עובדיה יוסף בן ג'ורג'י הרוח אדוני תניחנו בגן עדן, לביתר מן עם ההדן, קרות אל המראה שומע בערב, המלך ברחמיו יחוז ויחמול עליו, ולווה אליו בשלום, ועל משכבו יהיה שלום, כדכתיב יבוא שלום ונוכל משכבותיו, הולך לפחו בכל בני ישראל, השוכבים אמור כלל רחמים בסליחות לפני רצון, ונאמר אמן. הרב הנפש שאומר צרות זוכות בישראל פיך ובעלי נורא זוכות שנאמר ומחבס מעסקו, ידי תורה